Hi, I'm Jennifer Janish, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Hey you, it's me, Jennifer, from Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions, Adored Salon, and the Curly Girls Obsessions podcast, in which you are listening to right now. I'm coming at you from my daughter's bedroom. One, because I didn't want my dogs barking and whatever on this, and the lighting in her room is perfect. I'm wearing the same clothes as I was wearing last week because I'm recording these back to back. Makes it easy, and obviously I'm ready and I don't have to get ready again to do this tomorrow. Anyways, the whole reason why I'm doing them back to back, though, is because this week I was on an online conference and, um, when you do online conferences, it brings the energy to the moment, right? They're hopefully filled with something motivational because they're trying to pep you up for whatever it is that they're trying to sell you, right? In this case, it was called online selling. I'm always interested in marketing tactics. I always want to know what is creating excitement, what's doing what, right? So there was multiple sessions of this 3-day online conference where there was motivational speakers, and it always like sparks my personal creativity when I listen to other people talk about their passions, their things that they've overcome in order to get to this goal or that goal. And a lot of the times it's not just driven from, oh, I want to start a business, let me Google what I can start. No, a lot of the times, business owners who are small business owners create businesses out of personal need, right? So, that I can say for myself all along the way, in every step of everything, has been the way of my life, right? Um, as you know, if you've listened to my other podcasts, like I've been obsessed with hair and beauty from the age of 4. That was really when I learned like how to I taught myself how to French braid my hair. And if you think of the discipline involved with that, was something I wanted. My mom was like, "Hell no, I'm not learning it. That's not my thing." And my cousin used to do it for me every time I would see her. And at 4 years old, I was bound and determined to teach myself how to French braid my hair. My own hair. Yes, I started on my little sister, who like, oh my God, she cried so bad. I pulled her hair so much. I told her she was crazy. And that's how I started it, right? I knew how to do a 3-strand braid. And so I started from the top and I just kept braiding, thinking like, how is this gonna come together? Why does this look like this? What can I change? How can I make this better? Okay, now that I figured this out, how can I get rid of these bumps? And then once I learned it and perfected it on her, it was time to do it on myself. At 4 years old, backwards French braiding in 10,000 mirrors trying to figure this out, I figured it out. So, personally, like if I really think about that, I would consider myself a genius 4-year-old because I had a goal in my mind. I wanted to learn how to do something, and I took the steps to figure it out. I didn't know what the fuck the steps were, but I figured it out along the way, and simple. Like if there's anything you want to do, you just have to start, right? You just have to start. And the best way to get it done is if you need to get it done. I needed to get this hair French braided for a party that I was going to that day. I wanted my hair to look amazing. That's the other part is that I think I taught myself like in a matter of 3 hours. So if a 4-year-old could teach herself how to French braid and be obsessed with hair, right? Anybody can. So, um, talking about this conference and how it inspires me to have these ideas, And being motivated, we're also talking out of a personal need, right? And how my businesses began. So, being obsessed with hair and makeup from the age of 4, it's no wonder that I went to hair school when I was 15 years old and learned how to do hair. And, if you listen to Who is Jennifer Janish, you know that my background really was, my mom was a single mom. She was young. She had me when she was 18 years old. There were certain family dynamics. She was on her own, our lifestyle. Like, I learned really young that in order to have things, you had to work for them. So I was always willing to do the work. I started working when I was 13. And when I went to hair school and I learned how to do hair, I was like, oh, the mecca, right? Like I'm in it. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to be awesome at it because I have no other choice. This is going to be my life and I like nice things. I'm going to figure out how to make money from this. So, um I'm in the conference now, obviously, fast forward to now, 3 businesses later, and I'm having these aha moments of, like, things that I would like to talk about on this podcast and also with my team because things that were coming up in these motivational speakings were like there's always going to be something that you're going to be able to relate to your personal life, right? And you're always going to be like, well, at least if you're me, you're always going to be like, okay, I'm going to take that nugget of information and I'm going to make my life better and I'm going to try to help and make others' lives better. Being a salon owner, I have my team that I could share this with. Clients, I can't tell you how many times clients come in for hair appointments and it ends up being like a business mentoring session, because a lot of my clients know that I love to talk about this, or my clients have a personal problem in their lives and we start talking it through, and I can like pull from my memory bank these things that I've heard, listened to. Obviously, I'm not solving their problems for them, but just naturally you would like to. So, this session, this podcast is going to be used to discuss how I became a hair extension artist. Um, Obviously, the background with hair helped, but the situation in which my life was at the time also helped because um I had started working in a hair salon after being in my house for 8 years. Like, I had a salon in my basement while my kids were young, and it was great until it wasn't great. And when it wasn't great was the fact that I was going out of my mind, not having peers to talk to, not having people to bounce ideas off, share information. Like, I was craving that teamwork, right? And, I didn't even know it until my friend suggested it, and then it was, like, there again. I remember she suggested it, she asked me to come in and interview at the salon she was working at, and there was another girl that was interviewing at the same time, and we were both gonna whoever was gonna get this position was gonna get to New York and go train to learn how to do this curly cutting and styling technique. The other girl had straight hair and I had curly hair. And I was like, there is no way that that girl is getting this job over me. But what the salon owner did was she sure took her time in trying to figure out how to hire us. And I'll never forget the last time that I called that woman and she was like, I'm still trying to decide because I'm really struggling with the fact that you have the salon in your house and you're only going to be able to work 2.5 days a week. And I kind of want someone more full time. And this other stylist also was um, like, I think she'd been doing hair for 2 years at this point. I had been doing hair for, geez, 21 years, I think. Yeah. So I was like, okay, Let me just tell you something. Me working 2.5 days a week versus a new person working 2.5 days a week. Here's the deal is I understand this industry. I understand how to grow my clientele from zero to nothing. I understand upselling. I understand how to take $100 ticket and turn it into a $300 ticket, like in no time flat, right? And not because I'm money hungry, but just because I understand what the client wants, right? They don't just come in for you to provide the one service that they signed up for. Like they come into the hair salon because they want the hairstylist to tell them what they believe will make them look great, right? Like they think they know what they want, but they also want your information, your feedback, your professional opinion on how to, move heaven and earth and make them look like what you think your ideal client is. Ultimately, that's the game. Mm. I said this to her to enough times. I said this to her enough times. And then the final time, which honestly, like this really doesn't matter if you're becoming a curly hair specialist and you have straight hair or curly hair. It's if you're going to be able to deliver the job right correctly. But I will say that that was the benefit of me was that I had curly hair and she had stick straight hair, and I just pointed that out a couple times. So I ended up getting that job. I worked the 2.5 days of week there, and I kept my 1 day at home with my home clients. And um, I also had 4 little kids at home, right? My husband and I bought our house in 2007. We 100% have like the McMansion on the little piece of land. We were definitely part of like that crazy mortgage, whatever the hell you want to call it, with like 80/20 loan split, this PMI, no PMI, like all these crazy things, right? Um and the bottom line was like I was like, okay, I like my paycheck on 2.5 days a week, but I think I would love to see what it looks like for 3 days a week. And how am I going to do that? Because I was a curly haired specialist and there was 2 other curly haired specialists, and between all 3 of us, we worked together 1 day a week, and then each one of us had our own day of the week that we worked, that we were the only curly hair specialist in there, and that was a huge benefit because you were gonna get the people that called in that could only come in on that date. It was just gonna be you, right? So, how was I gonna work 3 days a week and not step on anybody else's toes because it was kind of cutthroat in there, right? So, like, I didn't wanna step on anybody else's toes. Feather extensions were a big thing, and I started researching extensions through these feather extensions. If you're all like, what are feather extensions? They are like festival extensions, right? And that's when they really were huge. So I forget they're I believe that they're like rooster feathers because they're long and then they're all dyed these really cool colors, and people would come in and get them put in their hair, and we charged like $17 a strand that took us 5 seconds to install. And I'm like, that's really going to bring home the paycheck that I probably want is extensions, but I'm going to have to learn how to do them. And so I started researching it. I went to learn how to do the extensions, and it was like a slow kickoff, right? And backing up to the conversation that I had had with the salon owner about all of this, like, I really want to work 1 more day. She was like, well, of course you can, because as a service provider, and this too, like these numbers, thinking back to 14 years ago, 15 years ago, are kind of unheard of. Okay. So I started in the salon with 0 clients in the first year. I went from 0 to it was like $52,000 in services behind the chair 2.5 days a week. Like, are you kidding me? That's a big deal. Um, and then my goal, like I met with her, she didn't do one-on-one meetings. I requested a one-on-one meeting and I was like, listen, I really would like to double that income next year. And she was like, okay, well, this is what you have to produce in order to double it. Of course, I know that I have to produce $104,000 worth of services behind the chair in order to get there. But like, how am I going to get there? What are you going to do to help me get there? I've already figured out part of the solution, and it's that I want to go and learn how to do hair extensions. And she was like, oh, we had someone in here who did those before, and she really wasn't that successful. And I was like, well, number one, I'm not her. Number two, if I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it to its fullest because I don't do anything half-assed. If I'm gonna learn how to do this, I'm gonna fricking put one foot in front of the other and I'm gonna make it happen. And damn it, I am going to double those service dollars from last year. And I really would like your help. And she's like, well, I did just help you. And I'm like looking at her and I'm thinking to myself, how? And she's like, well, I just told you like what you have to produce in order to double your service dollars. Okay, anybody that's, has half of a brain knows how to do simple math and add 52,000 and 52,000. That's $104,000 worth of services, right? So how was I going to get there? Because I needed something that produced more than just curly hair. While curly hair did great for the first year, getting to that one mark, right? So um, I talk her into helping me pay for the class, and that that was a bonus, right? Because also at this time with 4 little kids, the McMansion, the McMortgage, you name it, my husband probably wouldn't have been like, "Yeah, here, take 3 grand and go and get certified in this," right? So, ooh, feel like I'm talking super fast. So she helps me pay it. I go, I get certified, and it takes a really long time for me to get my first client. But in that really long time, like I just kept perfecting my skills, right? I kept doing everything I could do to create a better experience for the client. And this is insane when I tell you this. I think that I got certified in hair extensions after working there for 8 months because when I first learned hair extensions, I got so many no's in my consultation that I thought it was never going to kick off, which also pushed me even harder because now I had spent this money to learn this training. And I also gave the salon owner my word that I was going to make this into something worth both of our whiles, right? So during that time, like I had an awesome daycare provider for my younger two daughters who at the time were 2 and 3 years old. And me, who sucked at technology, created my own website for the extensions. And that was really, really stepping out of my box. But really fun because it started me into that first realm of marketing and understanding technology. We're going way back here, right? And so I started with that, and then I created pamphlets and flyers, and I put my girls in daycare, and I mapped out like all the plastic surgeons' offices, all the hair removal companies, because that was a really big thing then. And anything med spa related. And I physically walked in there, no prior phone call, no email, no contact form on a website. I wanted to go in there and put my best foot forward because I also knew like if I could just get FaceTime with these receptionists in these offices, and if I could offer them some sort of service for them to come in and see how I worked, they would talk about me to the clients who came in there asking about their hair, right? So it was like, again, like a learning process, but putting one foot in front of the other, stepping out of the comfort box. I really have no problem talking to people, so that wasn't an issue, but it was the issue of being comfortable with asking them to help me, and they didn't even know me, right? So I did that. I did that every Monday for, I would say, probably 8 weeks, right? And, um, and I'll never forget this. It took 9 months from the moment that I learned hair extensions to get my first real paying client for hair extensions. And, so if I started doing hair extensions, if I took the class 8 months in and it took 9 months, that would put me at, like, a year and 5 months of working in this salon. And so still I'm only working 2.5 days a week, right? Because the only way I'm gonna work that extra day is if I get an extension client, and I hadn't had one yet. So I get my first yes, and I am beyond belief elated, excited for this, right? And, once I had 1, it was easier to get 2, it was easier to get 4, and literally in a 3-month span, so it took 9 months to get the first one, and then in a 3-month span, it exploded. And it probably was because I had social proof. I had the photos, and, I feel like Facebook was it that was it at the time, and I started posting on there, and I have that website, and so I started loading in these photos. So, I only worked in that salon for 2 years, and I'm gonna tell you something so unbelievable because I just did the math and the timeline. Like, I went and got certified in extensions at the 8th month mark there. It took 9 months to get the first client, so that's 17 months of working there, and I worked there for 24 months. So at the 17-month mark, I got the first client, and within 3 months, it exploded. And by, so 3 months, so we're at 20 months, right? At 21 months, I believe that I told the salon owner, like, "Look, my clients that are my extension clients are filling the chairs of this salon on a Friday with blowouts, highlights. Like the amount of clients that I brought in just from doing the extensions required me to have some form of help. Now, Jackie, who still works with me at the time, was like assisting and learning. And I was so grateful for her because this influx was it was so fast and so furious once it happened and it skyrocketed, and she was there by my side all the time. Like, I could not have done what I did then without her, and she was also gaining from me all the same knowledge along the way, right? And I really put a push for Jackie to go and learn these extensions because I knew I wanted her to learn how to do it because I wanted her to do it with me. And Jackie did end up going. But here's what's really crazy was like I put my mind to the fact that I needed to make more money. And how was I going to do it? Right. There was the personal need for it was like, okay, I like 2.5 days a week. I would love 3 days a week. Um, and how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? These are the steps I'm going to take as far as educating myself, elevating my knowledge, understanding something new, being scared, but really not giving a fuck because I had to figure it out. And then doing the pieces of the work that it took in order to make it known that this is what I was doing at a time when really social media was like at its baby stages. People were not using it for marketing purposes, right? So, um, and like I said, it was just Facebook. And so, um, here's the crazy part, right? So you guys, understand from the beginning of this podcast that the whole reason that I wanted to do it was I wanted to double the service dollars that I was bringing into the salon because as a hairstylist, like you work on commission. I did not rent a chair from this woman. I worked on commission. So if you bring in a certain amount, you get a certain percentage of that. And so I had brought in $52,000 within that first year, and I wanted to double it. So that meant $104,000. How was I going to do it? Well, I took that class and I started marketing myself. And I told you it took 9 months. So the 17-month mark would have been 5 months into the new year, right? And that was me getting my first client. I also learned I mean, I really got a good word out there as far as me being a curly specialist. So I probably was doing more curly hair, but I wasn't working that third day yet because it was only for extensions. So if it was 5 months in, I had 7 months to take that $52,000 and turn it into $104,000. Now, I really wish I had the stats and where I was at that 7 month mark at that salon, but I don't. But, regardless, where I finished out that year, working 3 days a week in that salon was, $112,000 worth of revenue in service dollars. I know, it's pretty awesome, pretty crazy being that long ago, right? So, like, um, yeah, six-figure stylist right here, but, like, it was a hell of a long time ago that I was doing that. And I'm not bragging. I guess I kind of am a little bit, but I'm just showing you like the power of suggestion in your mind and the understanding of like one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. What is it going to take to get to that next level? What are you going to do to get there? Now, does it come from like this innate drive that I always wanted to do better, be better? Probably. Like that was instilled at a very young age, very strong work ethic. As if you listen to the podcast before too, I touch on it. And if you go back to the original, who is Jennifer Janish, you're really going to understand why that was like such a like driven into my head. Um, and then being in this online conference, listening to these people like talk about how they got to where they are, what they do and why. Um, Thinking of this whole process of evolution, right? Jennifer, the hairstylist, age 17, having her mom call into school 2 days a week so she could go to work full time behind the chair, right? Like, and if she didn't call me in, it was going to be like, okay, well, then fine. I'm just not going to graduate with a high school diploma because I could give two shits about high school. Like, I wanted to work and this was where my passion was. This is so crazy because the two classes she was calling me into were home ec and gym. Like, I sew hair in all day long for a living. Who would have thought that I needed home ec? I sure didn't think I needed it in high school. And like, we all understand the power of working out and moving your body, right? But at the time, I was like, I just want to make money and I just want to do what I love, right? So, starting there and then working in a couple salons, starting a salon in my house that I ran like a business because of my children and they were able to be, I was able to be around, but I still ran it like a business. I always had an assistant and I crushed it in that sense. But then I got bored and I missed the camaraderie of the team. I went back into the salon and started out as a curly haired specialist. I actually had to go to New York to learn it. And this was so crazy too. Like, talk about being super scared. I'll never forget this. Having my four kids, like, traveling, I always did with my husband or my family, mainly my husband. We are high school sweethearts. So we did everything and anything together. And then I had to get on a plane by myself, fly to New York, take a cab because Ubers didn't exist then from the airport to the hotel. And then I had to go from the hotel to the class in New York City. Oh my God. I was freaking out about that. I'll never forget that. But it turned out to be one of the best experiences ever, and, it obviously made me grow. And then starting out as a curly-haired specialist in that salon and being hungry for more, right? Um, and my boss telling me what she like, "Well, this is what you need to do." I know what I need to do. What are you gonna do to help me? Then learning, like, really and truly, the only person who's really helping you is yourself, unless you've got an amazing boss who, helps you, like, mentor you. I shouldn't say a boss. Let's just say that you've got the correct mentor in your corner, be it a live person, um, or someone that you listen to on a weekly basis or daily basis on YouTube, podcasts, whatever, or just some motivational speaker, right? Like someone has to be in the back of your brain telling you, like, yes, keep going forward, keep choosing the right path, or find the path that's the right path in order to get to where you want to be, right? And so going through these experiences and showing myself time and time again that honestly, I could super exceed my own expectations of myself if I just kept pushing myself hard. So screw the non-hustle mentality culture people that are out there. Like everything in life takes hard work. I don't give two shits who you are and what you do. If you're going to prove yourself and be good at it, it takes hard work. It takes hustle. It takes grit. It takes grind. And that's how you get to where you want to be. And then opening my salon. That came after that 2-year stint in that salon, and I was like, "Adored Salon is going to be known for curly hair, and hair extensions." And then I opened up the door to curly hair extensions when I created Adored Signature hand-tied hair extensions. And the reason that I did that was, like, my clients were like, There has to be something better than what you're giving us, this straight, stiff hair from China. Like, find something better for us. And I wasn't going to give up that income level and settle for subpar. So, like, I searched out Adore Signature hand tied hair extensions that we created and do and sell over and now educate. It's just like what one path looks like, it may not always be what you think it's going to be. It may open the doors of opportunities to so many different paths that you see yourself this much further later in life and you're like, holy shit, damn, I did it. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of having that realization right now. But like I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you're feeling like that little person who's struggling to get somewhere, you have to find the things that are going to take you there, right? It's going to take you searching them out. They're just not going to fall in your lap unless you're born with a lucky horseshoe up your ass. I mean, some people are, and that's just great, but that wasn't me. I really had to search it out. So I found myself being very similar to a lot of these people that spoke at this conference. Like, you created things that you wanted in your life out of need, and it just kind of exploded in front of you. It became better than what your expectations were, and now you're working that much harder every day to continue down on that path to keep it being amazing. Um, the other thing that, like, I've toyed with in my head is speaking on stage. This right here, this is the first step to that process, right? Like, I went speaking one-on-one to my clients, one-on-one then to my team, and then to like 5 or 6 on my team, and opening up the door to the podcast one to many, speaking one to many, right? And hopefully this podcast grows, right? Share it with a friend if you got benefit out of it. Share it on social media if you found benefit to it. Tell people, like, what is it that she talks about? Well, she's a hairstylist, but she talks about all these different things. That's why I named it Curly Girls Obsession, so that I just wasn't talking about just hair. I talk about the things that make me happy, make me tick, make me find motivation in tomorrow or today. Find the good, find what it is that drives Jennifer and hopefully drive more, right? So, yeah, that was the class. The conference was called Selling Online. And I told you that it started out like I'm always like curious about marketing and this and that. And what the conference really led into was speaking on stages. And damn, I really hope I see myself there one day. um, and because now I've said it, I'll probably start taking the steps in order to make it happen. Um, because I know I can. And that's what I shared in this episode was like how I got started as a hair extension specialist. I also talked about how I got started as a curly hair specialist. So at the end of the day, whether you have a college degree or not, don't let people make you feel bad if you don't, because honestly, if you don't, I don't have one. And I've started 3 businesses without one. And I've helped to grow a lot of people that have come on my team with me, standing beside me, help elevate their career beyond belief with them too, right? You could reach out to any of them. I'm sure that they would say that they are shocked at where they are today, right? And I'm not going to take full responsibility for that because they also had to have a part in it. They had to be winning, but I also am very strict about who comes on my team. And I really like to only pick winners. And if I see that you're not cutting it like in the beginning, you're going to be out because you're not bringing the rest of us down. So, yeah, on a good note, I hope you gained some motivation from this. I hope this podcast is really going to spur your week into something that's going to make you better and help you grow. I hope that I'm on your roundtable of influence of people who adds value to your life. If you found value from this podcast, please share it with someone else and tell them to follow it. If you haven't already followed it, follow it. If you haven't left me a review, leave me a review. That's how this thing grows. Um, yeah. So one day, I hope you're watching me on stage somewhere. Follow me at Jennifer_Johnson_Janish on Instagram, Adored Salon on Instagram, adored_signature_hand tied underscore hair on Instagram. Um, TikTok, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that's going yet. Like, I have an account, but I'm not putting a lot of effort there until I know for sure it's sticking around. And of course, always on here, the Curly Girls Obsessions. And I'll see you next week.